Welcome to Booksellets. I'm Prometheus, and we're covering the next chapter of Dan Jones's Power and Thrones. The Mongols have arrived. The first rumors to come to the Europeans of the Mongols came in rough translations of a great king out in the east by the name of King David. I don't know how that translation happened, but it did. This was kind of confusing to the Crusaders. There was also some rumors that it was some mythical figure of Prester John come to help the Crusader kingdoms. As you might imagine, this was not exactly accurate. For it was Genghis Khan, who, after uniting the clans out in the Mongol steppe in North China and messing around with the Chinese, decided to send some of the bigger armies westward. Yeah, let's go in the right direction. Which resulted in the sacking of most of the Persian Empire, or what was left of it, which wasn't a lot. And then it started butting up against the Crusader kingdoms, which wasn't entirely helpful. And then they decided to go north into Russia and mess up a whole bunch of stuff there. Like you do. They also had some... So, at this point in time, the Europeans were like, okay, big power, we're going to say hi, maybe see if we can't get these guys on our side to fight the Caliphates. So, a couple of intrepid explorers, most famous among them was Marco Polo, who, side note here, had his stories recounted by a person while they were both in prison after fighting the the people of Genoa. The Venetians and the people of Genoa had a battle. Marco Polo got captured, and there was an Englishman who had worked with one of the courts of the king, writing Arthurian legends, and that is the author of Marco Polo's Travels. I find that hilarious. But anyway, a couple of other people finally make their way out to what is modern-day Uzbekistan, where the Khan set up his head shop, so to speak, his castle, capital. During the trip, Europeans noted that the Mongols were dirty. They didn't like bathing. They were notorious for eating everything that moved, including mice. That's what they recorded. Why? There isn't even that much food on. It's like sardines. I mean, I know the concept of a sardine, but it's so tiny. Like, how do you eat this? How? And the absolute love of an alcoholic drink, which was made from fermented mare's milk of a horse. Now, how you get alcohol from fermented milk and not some form of yogurt is beyond me. But everybody collectively agreed who had to go there that it was a vile, vile substance. And a lot of Europeans spent the trip of a couple of months to a couple of years horribly sick. And some of them died soon after getting back due to the stresses of the travel. Khans also, not the Khans, the Mongols also had the name of the Tartars. How they got half these names is beyond me, but regardless. They had some very interesting customs. They were generally pretty chill religiously, but they had many superstitions, including not stepping on the threshold of their tents, which were called girs. G-E-R-S, girs, something like that. Great, we'll get the Khans on our side. Yeah, no, they're not really interested in converting. Imagine that. And the Khan is dead. Why is the Khan dead? There are many rumors about how the Khan died, ranging from struck by lightning to more graphic details, which I will not be sharing. But in true Khan fashion, which is probably the best way to describe how his empire worked, the people who buried him were then killed. And then the people who killed the people who buried him trampled over where they think they buried him, and then the people who killed the people who buried him were also killed. To bury one guy. This is how the Mongols operated. Lots of death, which, side note, was very helpful for empire building, because if you don't have a population to police when you leave a conquered area, it makes it really, really easy to control said conquered area, because either A, there's nobody there, or B, everybody is very much afraid of not being there anymore to do anything to you or your men or mess with your supply routes. This is the Middle Ages. Morals are not a thing. You don't have to worry about such little things as moral quandaries or anything like that, really. You just, what works, works, man. I think there were 4 great Khans: Odal, someone else, Timur. Timur was the last great Khan. The Khan's grand empire breaks apart into an empire in China, caliphate in Persia, some thing in Uzbekistan, and then the Golden Horde, which is what I know of the Mongols. I thought the Golden Horde came about much earlier, but no, apparently it was a later development. And all in all, the Grand Mongol Empire only held power as a unified state for about 200 years, which is incredible, the amount of absolute mayhem they caused for that time period, including the burning of the House of Wisdom in Baghdad. Yeah, I don't really know how to end off the Mongols. They just sort of showed up and then faded into other societies, which is always very interesting, is that the Mongols, they show up, they have a very distinct steppe culture, and then they just sort of become Chinese and develop an imperial bureaucracy, just like the previous China. What is it with China and bureaucracy? Is it in the water? Why? Why do you always have to have your bureaucracies? I'm not a fan of bureaucracy, so I'm very curious as to why it seems to continuously form no matter who's in charge in China. Bureaucracy, bureaucracy, bureaucracy. The Persian Caliphate, the Persian Mongol Empire becomes, Persian and less Mongol, and they convert to Islam, and they stop doing the weird Mongol shamanism, and yeah, and then they're gone. But there is one thing to be said. Mongols did have a good postal system. They were able to get across their continent, well, not their continent, their empire very, very quickly, and this allowed for an unprecedented level of trade with Europe to the east in China. Probably not seen since the Roman period, and probably even better than the Roman period. And this will lead to a new class of Europeans with a great deal of power. The merchants. So, I'm going to go try and find something that is not fermented milk, because, also, despite being of European descent, dairy is undigestible. Yay. Gotta love it. So, let's go see if we can't find a mouse, huh? I'm sure this will not have any issues with bringing diseases. Dude, why do you have black spots on your arms? Oh, no.